Part 35. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 341. I deeply felt that traveling with Cheng was too risky. Bai Wei has the character of wanting to faint at the sight of blood. If Bai Wei is attacked by a gun, or witnesses her son murdering with her own eyes, that scene is so exciting, I can't imagine it. Cheng smiled and said, "You have to have confidence in your brother." I rolled his eyes back at him. After thinking about it, she asked another question, Muzening, how did you deal with it? When eating today, Cheng was very arrogant, holding her hand firmly under the table, while Muzening's face was particularly ugly, but he didn't say anything, and didn't even look this way. I was very curious. How did Cheng persuade Muzening? I told him that if he dares to reveal a single word to the public, I will kill him. Cheng curled his thin lips with a sinister smile. I was dumbfounded, and blurted out, "You're crazy." The voice was slightly louder, causing Bai Wei in the living room to look over. I was anxious, grabbed Cheng's hand and rubbed it upstairs. "You really told him that?" I pulled Cheng into the room, and asked in disbelief, "If he threatens his personal safety, he can definitely call the police and arrest you." She suspects that Cheng's rebellious adolescence has not yet passed, and he is a model of a middle school boy. Seeing that I was really in a hurry, Cheng hugged her lightly, and explained unhurriedly, "Okay, I'm just kidding you, I have a handle on him, he doesn't dare to talk nonsense." I finally breathed a sigh of relief, and asked, "What's the reason?" "Some old photos of his mother from before." After hearing this, I immediately understood. Photos that can threaten Muzening must be unusual, and Mu likes to keep young male models, so what will be in the photos can almost be guessed. In order to preserve his mother's reputation after her death, Muzening will definitely keep his mouth shut. I was relieved, but when she thought of Cheng's teasing just now, she was a little annoyed. "Wouldn't you have told me this earlier? You have to scare me." Cheng smiled, "Zizi, I didn't scare you, I really wanted to kill him." He stared into I's eyes, and asked tentatively, "What do you think?" "It's a hidden danger to keep it, so it's better to kill it once and for all." I was speechless. "You are abnormal, I don't want to talk to you." Cheng didn't get the answer he wanted, but he didn't see the reluctance for Muzening in I's eyes, so he was very satisfied. "If you don't want to say it, then don't say it." Cheng smiled unscrupulously, like a bully teasing everyone's lady, and raised I's chin with one finger. "Anyway, there are some things that don't need to be talked about." I opened her mouth to reveal her sharp canine teeth, and bit down on that finger. Cheng didn't know the pain, and laughed evilly, "Look, I'm so spoiled that I dare to bite people." I was almost pissed off by him. She spit out her severed finger and complained loudly, "Mom! My brother keeps teasing me. I can't study anymore." The door was left open, and the sound went straight downstairs. Bai Wei's voice came up quickly, Cheng, don't make trouble with your sister. She is about to have her final exam." Accompanied by the sound of footsteps going upstairs. Cheng's dark eyes narrowed slightly, and a threatening light flickered. I was too aware of his eyes, and she screamed in her heart that it was not good, and was about to run away, but Cheng moved faster than her. Bang! "Close the door, lock it, push the girl who was about to rush out against the door, and kiss her fiercely. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again." Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 342. Cheng's idea is very simple. If you don't clean her up once, this little thing will probably call mom every time in the future. His style of conduct has always been cruel and rough, and the same is true with women. Muzi was pressed against the door, unable to escape or dodge, forced to bear his fiery kiss, feeling both shocked and angry. Bai Wei ran upstairs and found that the door couldn't be opened, so she patted on the door anxiously. Rong Cheng, open the door. Why did you close the door? Don't bully your sister. Bully. Muzi felt that Bai Wei's words were too euphemistic. This was more than bullying. She was almost torn apart by Murong Cheng. Murong Cheng completely ignored the questioning from outside the door, and kissed leisurely, more and more delicately. His heavy breathing with scalding heat brushed against Muzi's cheeks again and again, as if it would burn her skin. Muzi was terrified, and didn't dare to move. She only had one thought in her mind: Murong Cheng is too terrifying. He is not even afraid of his mother. When this guy finally got enough of kissing, unscrupulous and evil Shao touched the girl's face and asked with a smile, do you still dare to sue? Muzi almost died from being kissed. She was panting so badly that she didn't have time to scold him. Bai Wei was still knocking on the door and shouting. Her voice sounded very anxious, lest the son of a jerk would beat his daughter. Murong Cheng opened the door as if nothing had happened, and Bai Wei rushed in staggeringly, staring at the siblings with wide eyes. You. She looked at Murong Cheng, then at Muzi, and finally her eyes fell on her son, and she asked, did you hit Zi? Did you fight? Murong Cheng. Muzi. Both of them were panting for breath, their clothes were wrinkled, and they really looked like they had a fight. No, Murong Cheng denied it flatly, and said, I'm helping her check her homework. Impossible, Bai Wei retorted angrily, she was just stupid, not an idiot. Zizi, tell me, did your brother beat you? Bai Wei looked at Muzi and asked eagerly, with a firm look in her eyes, as if as long as Muzi said yes, she would avenge Muzi same. Muzi is a little eager to try. She wanted to say yes. But if Bai Wei asked where Murong Cheng was, how would she answer? Beat her? Not hard enough, spanking. It's too ambiguous, kicking the legs, kicking the head, it seems that none of the body parts are suitable. A trace of cunning flashed in Muzi's eyes. She covered her face aggrievedly and said, brother pinched my face. She didn't lie, she was indeed pinched several times just now, and she is still a little red now. Rong Cheng, come out with me. The loving mother Bai Wei suddenly assumed the aura of Yan's mother, and walked out of the room with a cold face. Murong Cheng followed Bai Wei out, turned around when he reached the door, and smiled meaningfully at Muzi. Muzi. Did she do something wrong again? Bai Wei seriously ordered Murong Cheng not to disturb Muzi's study anymore. As long as Muzi is studying in Wenshu, Murong Cheng can't enter the room to influence her. Thanks to Bai Wei, during the period before the final exam, Muzi finally gained a short period of peace. It's just that during the breaks between studies, she occasionally feels uneasy, always wondering if Murong Cheng is holding back his big moves. The final exam came quietly amidst Muzi's worries. Muzi performed well. She estimated that as long as she continued to maintain this result, she should be able to get a place in the judicial examination next year. On the day the exam ended, Muzi received a call from Tong Wu. Miss Mu, you have entrusted us to do something, and we have found some clues. Muzi was surprised. Where did you find out? Tong Wu replied, the situation is a bit complicated. I'm afraid I can't explain it clearly on the phone. If you are free, you might as well come to Gu's house. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life. Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 343. Muzi immediately said, I'll go there now. She wanted to know the answer so much that she didn't think about it, which was completely out of line with her usual cautious attitude. For so long, the question that has been lingering in my heart is finally going to be revealed. In the end, who resurrected her? Thinking of this, Muzi's heart started beating uncontrollably, and he wished he could go to Gu's house to ask for clarification. Tongwu said, "You tell me your location, and I will send a car to pick you up." The surroundings of Gu's residence were heavily guarded, and ordinary vehicles could not pass through at all. Muzi thought of this, and told Tongwu her location. Soon, Tongwu sent a car to pick her up. Muzi went to Gu's house by car. She was in a hurry, and only remembered halfway that if Murong Cheng found out that she was going to Gu's house, he might cause trouble for her again. But now she doesn't care about that anymore. The bluestone road of Gu's house is flat and wide, and the dwarf pines on both sides are elegantly landscaped. Muzi didn't have the heart to appreciate it, so he walked all the way. She stepped into the living room, but she didn't see Gu Liang. Only a woman was sitting on the white leather sofa. It was Lan Kexin who she had seen last time. Upon receiving the news, Tongwu came down from upstairs and said to Muzi, "Miss Mu, please wait a moment, Mr. Gu has no customers." Muzi sat down on the other side of the sofa, met Lan Kexin's scrutinizing gaze, and politely said hello, "Miss Lan." In fact, she didn't have a good impression of Lan Kexin. She still remembered that she was pointed at and scolded by this woman last time. Although there was a reason for the incident, she still felt a little uncomfortable. When Muzi is a guest at someone else's house, she will not take the initiative to pick things up and cause embarrassment. This is a respect for the host's family, and it is also a basic etiquette. Fortunately, Lan Kexin is quite normal today, not as unreasonable as last time. "Miss Mu is here too," Lan Kexin smiled. Muzi smiled and nodded as a response. She sat quietly on the sofa, with her eyes half closed. Her expression was as indifferent and distant as an ancient tree, and she had no intention of chatting with Lan Kexin. Even so, Muzi could feel a cold and sharp gaze on him, and kept looking at him. Lan Kexin's scrutinizing gaze was undisguised, and it was like a glow on one's back. Maybe it's because Lan Kexin has a sense of superiority, so she thinks there's no need to hide it. Muzi sat with an indifferent expression, ignoring it. Her current thoughts are all elsewhere, and she has no time to worry about this unknown hostility. However, Lan Kexin intentionally talked to her. "Miss Mu is so young, it is not easy to reverse the case for the second young master. Did you learn it specially? Have you taken courses in this area?" "I'm just an intern at the law firm. I occasionally help out with a few ideas. It's all thanks to lawyer Chu that Shao is safe and sound," Muzi replied. "That's amazing," Lan Kexin asked with a smile. "I came here today to discuss the case with young Master Gu. Isn't the lawsuit already over?" Muzi said, "It's for other things." "Oh," Lan Kexin straightened her back a little, and her posture was more dignified. "What is it for?" She stared at Muzi urgently, eager to know the answer. Muzi looked up at her, frowning slightly, as if he was a little puzzled. "Did Miss Mu encounter any difficulties?" Lan Kexin smiled more cordially, trying to show her friendliness. "You might as well tell me, maybe I can help." "No need, it's just a personal matter," Muzi smiled. Lan Kexin refused to give up, and was still probing. "I need to seek help from young Master Gu for a personal matter. It must not be a trivial matter. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again." Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 344. There was a faint smile on Muzi's face. She chose to remain silent without answering. The scene cooled down for a while. "I'm taking the liberty, Miss Mu, don't mind." Lan Kexin walked down the steps by herself, but felt annoyed in her heart, thinking to herself, "I'm flattering you by asking you a question. You really treat yourself like a toy. You ungrateful animal." She had already found out clearly that Muzi is the adopted daughter of the Mu family, Not as good as Mu Yun from last time. Mu Zi is not even a serious young lady. With such a lowly status, wanting to cling to young Master Gu is simply wishful thinking. Lan Kexin maintained a smile on her face, but her eyes were extremely cold. The more she thought about it, the more she felt that it was impossible for Gu Liang to fall in love with Mu Zi. Even though Mu Zi had some advantages, his status was too bad and he was young, so he didn't meet Gu Liang's aesthetic preferences at all. At this time, Tong Wu went downstairs again. "Miss Mu, young Master Gu invites you to go up." The smile on Lan Kexin's face was almost unstoppable. She turned her head to look at Tong Wu, the corner of her mouth was stiff. "Guard Tong, I've been waiting for a long time." "Miss Lan, please wait a little longer," Tong Wu said. "Young Master Gu wants to see Miss Mu first." But, she was the one who came first. Even if it doesn't matter the order of first come first, could it be that Mu Zi is more important than her Lan Kexin in Gu Liang's heart? Lan Kexin clenched her hands unconsciously. The beautiful nails that had just been maintained were deeply embedded in her palms. She felt a crisis. Mu Zi followed Tong Wu upstairs. Tong Wu took Mu Zi to the tea room. When he entered the room, the person inside happened to come out. He was a middle-aged man in a suit and leather shoes. He had a very respectful attitude towards Gu Liang. He must be a certain director of the Gu group. In fact, Mu Zi didn't quite understand. Gu Liang was obviously very busy. Why did he bother to ask about this matter in person? Obviously, it can be solved by asking someone to send her a message. Could it be that something has changed? So it must be explained clearly in person? Mu Zi doubted the rebirth in his heart, looking forward to it, but also feeling uneasy. Gu Liang took a seat opposite her, maybe because he had just processed a lot of documents. He was wearing a pair of glasses at this time. He was handsome with a bookish look, elegant and dignified. Mu Zi couldn't wait to ask him, "Young Master Gu, have you found someone for me?" Gu Liang was silent for a moment, and did not answer immediately, but first asked Mu Zi a question. "Miss Mu, can you tell me, how did you know that Su Zi's body was taken away?" Mu Zi was slightly stunned. "Sorry, I may not be able to explain this matter." She can't say that she became a ghost and saw it with her own eyes. If she lied that she saw it on a boat or on the river bank, Gu Liang would definitely ask for more details, but she couldn't answer at all. Gu Liang was not angry, but smiled, and said, "I guess Ms. Mu would not want to tell me why she wanted to investigate Su Zi." Mu Zi forced a smile. "Please don't mind me asking these, I just want to see if Miss Mu can provide some clues," Gu Liang explained. After hearing this, Mu Zi couldn't help showing disappointment. "Didn't you find it?" "If he found it, why wait for her clues?" Gu Liang said, "I found half of it." Mu Zi's eyes showed confusion. "I don't understand." "Su Zi's body has been found." Gu Liang's voice was low, and he said slowly, "but the person who took the body away has not been found." Mu Zi was stunned. Gu Liang stared at her with deep eyes, and said in a low voice, "Miss Mu, if someone takes away Su Zi's body, and my people can't find any traces, such a person, or the strength is not as good as my Gu family's, they are comparable, or they are far superior to my Gu family, and no matter which one they are definitely not easy to deal with. Blessed to have each other in this life. Mu Shao, your wife is born again." Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 345. Mu Zi's heart skipped a beat. Either, it is on par with the Gu family, or its strength is far superior to that of the Gu family. Gu Liang is implying that the person who took her away is one of the four major families. Otherwise, in this Xinjiang city where fish and dragons are mixed together, who can cheat the sky? Who can cover the sky with one hand? Who can not leak a single flaw, leave no trace? Mu Zi felt suffocated. She was not breathing well, and took a deep breath. Her lungs were burning, and her heart pounded violently on her chest. The answer is imminent. Gu Liang stared at her thoughtfully. Miss Mu, is there anyone in mind? Mu Zi looked up in a daze. No. I don't have a clue. Gu Liang looked at her quietly for a while, and then said, I'm sorry that I didn't help you find out about this matter. If you think of any clues, you can tell me, and I will help you find out as much as I can. Thank you. Mu Zi's expression was dull, and his mind was already in turmoil. You have helped me a lot. Gu Liang handed out a note and gently placed it in front of Mu Zi. The address was written on the slip of paper. This is Su Zi's current position, Gu Liang said. Mu Zi fixedly looked at every word on the note, as if she wanted to embed these words deeply into her mind. She left the Gu residence. The driver asked if he would go back to Mu's house, but Mu Zi was very confused. She doesn't want to go back. After thinking for a long time, she said, go to Huake Entertainment City. The Huo family made their fortune in the gaming industry, with casinos, hotels, and entertainment centers all over Wenzhou. As the head of the family, Murong Cheng basically used Huake Entertainment City as his office for daily affairs when he was in Xinjiang City. Mu Zi didn't have an access card, so he couldn't enter Murong Cheng's special elevator, and the passage for special VIPs was also guarded by security guards. She walked aimlessly in the entertainment city and came to the casino unknowingly. And because he is under 18 years old, he is not allowed to exchange chips, so he is really disgusted everywhere. In the end, Mu Zi exchanged 100 coins, randomly found a claw machine that was eye-catching, and picked up the doll. She was thinking, is it Murong Cheng? If it was him, why did he keep hiding it from her? If it wasn't him, who would it be? The doll that was picked up wobbled, and finally fell out of the mechanical hand. Mu Zi felt her heart drop. It's just that the doll will fall into the pile of plush toys, but her heart keeps falling, and there is nowhere to go. She was even a little afraid to face. I don't know what to ask Murong Cheng after seeing him. If Murong Cheng deliberately concealed it, she would ask, can she get the answer? Before I knew it, most of the coins had been spent, but the doll didn't get a few. At this time, a familiar figure came to her side. Miss Mu, why are you here? Wang Zhan looked at Mu Zi in surprise. Are you here to find Master Rong? Mu Zi's expression was indifferent and a little bit confused. She nodded unconsciously. Wang Zhan said, come with me. Mu Zi followed him. Wang Zhan took Mu Zi to the elevator, and said with concern on the way, when did you come? Master Rong is in a meeting, please sit down for a while and have something to drink. Master Rong thought you were going to have dinner with your classmates after the exam, but I didn't think time to pick you up. Mu Zi seemed to have something on her mind, so she didn't make much noise. Wang Zhan saw that her expression was not right, and couldn't help but feel uneasy, thinking to himself that the two of them would not quarrel again, would they? What a pair of enemies. Wang Zhan took Mu Zi to Murong Cheng's office, and was about to turn around and leave when Mu Zi stopped him. Steward Wang. Mu Zi thought for a while, and asked him seriously, do you know how to bring the dead back to life? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life. Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 346. Mu Zi asked Wang Zhan if he knew how to resurrect the dead. In her tone, there were 7 points of doubt and 3 points of temptation. Wang Zhan froze in place at the time, unable to react for a while. Mu Zi would not ask for no reason. What did she know? Or guess what? Or, who told her what? Wang Zhan's heart was beating wildly. On the surface, he pretended to be calm. Why does Miss Mu ask such a question? When a person dies, he is dead. How can he come back to life? Muzi I said again, for example, is it possible to resurrect the soul by borrowing a corpse? You follow Master Wrong and have more experience than I do. Do you think such a thing will happen in the world? Master Wrong, does he know a mage who can resurrect the dead? Wang Zhan lost his composure for an instant. Muzi I must know something. It's just that she doesn't know how deep she knows. Guard Wang, Muzi I tilted her head, there seemed to be tiny light spots flickering in her puzzled eyes, and she asked inquiringly, "What's wrong with you? Is there anything inconvenient to say?" "Ha, nothing inconvenient." Wang Zhan squeezed a smile. The Huo family does know a lot of mages in this kind of business, but resurrecting the dead, this kind of thing is so mysterious, it should be impossible. Wang Zhan worked with Murong Cheng, and his psychological quality was honed, so even if there was a huge wave in his heart, he could still maintain a smile on his face. And if you want to fool people, the most important skill is half truth and half false. You can't tell the truth, and you can't tell all the lies. Only 2 or 3 truths can be mixed into the 10 lies to stand up to scrutiny. For example, now, Muzi I took the initiative to ask about such things. As a manager, not only could she not keep her mouth shut, but she also had to take the initiative to care, so that she could behave more naturally. Wang Zhan poured a cup of hot tea for Muzi, and asked with a smile, "Why did you suddenly ask this? If you encounter difficulties, you might as well talk about it. It's hard to find a mage who can resurrect the dead. How many ordinary mages can you find, Bit?" Muzi I stared into his eyes. Wang Guanqi has connections in this regard. Ms. Mu was joking. Mrs. Huo believes in this kind of strange people and magic the most. Before each casino is built, several masters of metaphysics will be invited for site selection, design, decoration, etc. Wang Zhan introduced to Muzi, "When you entered the casino, did you see bats and rats hanging money carved on the casino gate? This means that bats open their mouths for food and suck all the money in the pockets of gamblers. There is also a row of exquisite large chandeliers on the ceiling of the hallway, which are bright and bright, but if you look carefully, you will find that this row of chandeliers is like a broad knife, which can kill the passing gamblers. The soul is lost, and the wealth is sucked." Wang Zhan said, smiled, and continued, "The Huo family is the most particular about these things in the casino business. The young masters also like to make friends with strange people. The 3rd, 7th, and 9th young masters of the Huo family are all proficient in the way here. Someone lowered his head to Master Wrong before, and we also invited a mage to help resolve it." "Has he been lowered?" Muzi's eyes widened in astonishment. "Then, is he all right?" Wang Zhan hurriedly said, "We asked young Master Huo Ju for help. Young Master Ju introduced a mage who broke the witchcraft." After he finished speaking, he shook his head and sighed, "There are so many wonders in the world." Muzi I was thoughtful. Listen to the meaning of Wang Zhan's words. Murong Cheng doesn't seem to know the mage himself, but was introduced by someone else. Having said that, although Gu Liang hinted that this person is from the 4 major families, the power of the 4 major families spread all over the Huaya Empire, and the Huo family alone has so many descendants. Why should she doubt Murong Cheng people? Blessed to have each other in this life. Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 347. Is she in a photo shoot? Just because Murong Cheng treats himself differently? Muzi I still doubts Murong Cheng, but at the same time, she feels that she can't miss other suspicious people just because she doubts Murong Cheng. She pondered quietly, depressed. Wang Zhan went to find Murong Cheng anxiously. Before the meeting was over, Wang Zhan walked in cautiously, came to Murong Cheng's side in a few steps, leaned over and whispered, "Master Wrong, Miss Mu is here." Wang Zhan told Murong Cheng concisely about Muzi I's abnormality. Murong Cheng's face darkened slightly, then he got up and said calmly, Everyone, go ahead, I have something to leave for a while. He followed Wang Zhan back to the office, but Mu Ziyi was not there. Where is the person? Wang Zhan asked the bodyguard at the door anxiously. The bodyguard said that Miss Mu had just left. Wang Zhan looked at Murong Cheng. Master, do you want to chase? Murong Cheng frowned, did not speak, took out a cigarette from the cigarette case and lit it. In the mist of green smoke, his eyebrows and eyes were covered with a layer of haze. Wang Zhan watched Murong Cheng's expression carefully, feeling worried. Murong Cheng said lightly, until the results are found out, she will not give up, she has such a character. He took a puff of the cigarette, exhaled the dark smoke, and said, go and arrange it and give her a result, so that she won't worry about it all day long. Master, do you want to? Wang Zhan was a little uncertain. Let's choose Laoju. Murong Cheng's face was obscured behind the thin smoke. He was assassinated just last month, and he happened to be in Xinjiang in August, so he is the most suitable choice. Hearing this, Wang Zhan had a look of hesitation on his face. Murong Cheng pressed the cigarette into the copper-colored ashtray, raised his eyebrows and looked at him. What, is there a problem? Wang Zhan's eyes dodged a little, and he lowered his head and said, no problem, just a word suddenly came to mind. What? Murong Cheng asked. Wang Zhan replied cautiously, I've heard people say, there must be no deception between a man and a woman. If you want to cheat, you must lie for a lifetime, otherwise. He paused as he spoke, fearing that Murong Cheng would be upset. He raised a flattering smile. Master, I'm worried that Miss Mu will be angry with you if she finds out about it later. Who would want to live a lie? It's like a Truman world, even the people around are out of good intentions, but sometimes, deception itself is enough to cause hatred. Murong Cheng was silent for a long time, his eyes were deep and silent. Then never let her know, he said. At dinner in the evening, Mu Ziyi told Bai Wei that because of the club activities in the school, she was going to go to another place, and it would take 2 or 3 days before she could come back. The final exams are over, and Bai Wei also wants her daughter to go out to play and relax, but she is a little worried when she hears that the event will take place outside the city. Otherwise, let your brother accompany you, Bai Wei asked tentatively. Mom, the other students are going by themselves. How embarrassing it is for me to bring a parent. Mu Ziyi glanced at Murong Cheng next to him, and said, and my brother still has work, he is very busy. She was not worried about Bai Wei, but she was afraid that Murong Cheng would pester her and not let her go. Unexpectedly, Murong Cheng did not stop him, and said, when you arrive at the place, call home to report that you are safe. When you are going to come back, let me know in advance, and I will pick you up. After speaking, he rubbed her head very gently, which made Mu Ziyi feel uncomfortable, and felt that Murong Cheng was suddenly so human, and he was very uncomfortable. The next day, Mu Ziyi simply packed a few changes of clothes and daily necessities, carried her schoolbag on her shoulders, and went to Xinjiang railway station. Zhang Xi was waiting for her at the station, waving at her from afar. Even though he had already heard the news on the phone, when he saw Mu Ziyi, Zhang Xi still had a slightly shocked expression on his face, and asked, is the news true? Why is the body there? Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 348. The news that Guliang's people found out shouldn't be wrong. Mu Ziyi grinned and forced a smile. I was quite surprised when I first found out. Her body had already been sent to Xiashui, her hometown, and buried on the back mountain of her hometown. The purpose of Mu Ziyi and Zhangxi's trip this time is to see for themselves. Look at her body, or, look at her grave. They took a 6-hour high-speed train to arrive in a nearby city, and then took a bus to Xiashui town. When we arrived at Xiashui, it was raining lightly, and the ground was covered with wet mud. Whether it is the darkening sky or the disturbing light rain, it is not suitable to go up the mountain at this time. Muzi and Zhangxi first found a small hotel to stay. Xiaoshui town is very small and there are no luxury hotels. Even if you find a hotel, the conditions are very simple. There are only 2 beds and a table in the double room, and there is no TV set, let alone daily necessities such as toothbrush and toothpaste. Zhangxi bent down and searched for a long time before finding a charging plug from behind the table, and then found that the kettle in the house was broken, so she had to go to the waiter to solve the problem. Muzi stayed in the room and called back to tell Bai Wei that she was safe. After the phone call, Zhangxi happened to come back, holding a lot of things in his hands, and said to Muzi, "It's not too bad, there is a supermarket next to this hotel, which sells basic daily necessities." Muzi smiled and said, "Well, that supermarket is run by the brother of the hotel owner." Zhangxi was stunned. These 2 brothers are very business-minded. She immediately thought that Muzi grew up here, and now that she came back, seeing these familiar faces, she must have a lot of emotion in her heart. "You know them?" Zhangxi asked. Muzi shook her head lightly. "I don't know each other, but when I was young, I used to go to that supermarket to buy snacks. Oh, it was just a small shop at that time." "Then you used to live near here?" "The supermarket you went to buy things just now, there is an alley on the left, and the end of the alley is where my grandmother and I used to live." Musa sighed quietly, and said, "After my grandmother fell ill, I took her to Qingjiang City for treatment. It's also sold. In fact, at that time, she didn't want to sell the house. After all, it was the place where she lived in her childhood, and she wanted to keep it as a memory. But the grandmother insisted on selling, and wanted to sell the house for money to subsidize medical expenses, so as not to increase the financial burden on the granddaughter, even if the house itself could not be sold for much." Recalling the past, while feeling warm in the heart, there was also a little sadness. Muzi and Zhangxi were resting on their own beds, neither of them spoke. Light rain pattered against the window, making a continuous crackling sound. Zhangxi suddenly said, "Could it be someone close to you who did it? Otherwise, why did you bring the corpse here all the way? He must be very familiar with you and know your former residence." I also understand Muzi's nostalgia. Zhangxi's words were actually exactly what Muzi was thinking. She thinks that Murong Cheng is the most likely to be that person, but the only thing she can't figure out now is, what is Murong Cheng's motive for doing this? Why should he hide it? Is it possible to learn from Lei Feng and do good deeds without leaving a name? This is ridiculous. At this time, Zhangxi said to himself again, "But this doesn't make sense. If it was done by someone around you, there is no reason why Gu Liang can't find it out, unless this person is very powerful, but your family, at last the powerful one is Murong Xian, right? A chief of staff, can he stand up to Gu Shaoka?" Zhangxi himself denied his answer. Muzi was silent for a while, then said softly, "Go to sleep, go and have a look tomorrow, maybe there will be new clues." After a day's train ride, both of them were very tired and soon fell into a deep sleep. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 349. The next day, the rain was still falling intermittently. It was rainy, damp, and cold, adding to the winter bleakness of the town. Muzi and Zhangxi bought umbrellas in the supermarket, went to a nearby store to buy some ingot paper money, and then went up the mountain. The road up the mountain is very rough, usually smooth, but when it rains, it will be muddy, dirty, and slippery, making it extremely difficult to walk. This kind of mountain cemetery in remote towns does not have a registration list and road map like a regular cemetery. They can only follow the mountain road and look around. After searching for a while, I found nothing. But since Gu Liang told her that she was here, there must be nothing wrong. When Mu Zi thought about it, she was not in a hurry. Since she was here, why not go see Grandma first? In the end, when the two arrived in front of Grandma's tomb, they found a new tombstone beside the tombstone. The name on the tombstone was exactly Suzi. Suzi, you are here, Zhang Si exclaimed. The words blurted out, and I immediately felt that it was wrong. I should say, your tomb is here. Mu Zi was also stunned. Rao was mentally prepared to see his own grave suddenly, and the shock in his heart did not diminish in the slightest. She really didn't expect that that person would be so careful and bury her next to Grandma on purpose. He must know that you and your grandma have a deep relationship, otherwise it would be unreasonable, Zhang Si said in shock. It's thousands of miles away from Qingjiang to Xiashui. What is this man trying to do? Trying to fish you up from the bottom of the river, then it was transported to Xiashui for burial without saying a word, just so quietly, without informing your family. Suzi's only family member is her husband, Mu Zening. He has a prejudice against Mu Zening. Zhang Si was still in extreme surprise. He loves you. Then why didn't he come to you? Did he die? Mu Zi looked up at Zhang Si. Zhang Si knew she had said something wrong, so she couldn't help but shut up. What she said just now seemed to be deliberately cursing others to death. Mu Zi turned her head and looked at her tomb again. The inscription on the inscription was very simple, only her name, and the time of birth and death. If he's not dead, then he's hidden. Musa looked at her tombstone and muttered to herself, why did he hide? Is there any secret that she can't know? The light rain fell on the grey-white tombstone, glistening with water. Mu Zi burned paper and ingots for Grandma. The green smoke was thin and fragmented in the drizzle, and Mu Zi threw coins one by one into the rising flames, and whispered, Grandma, do you recognize me? I'm Zi. Do you think strange? Why does the granddaughter look different? She smiled slightly, and said with a little self-mockery, I accidentally walked in the palace of the King of Hell, and now I am alive, so I look different from before, and I am not called Suzi anymore, Grandma, it's called Mu Zi. Mingbai burned into ashes in the fire, and when the wind blew, the ashes swirled in the wind. Musa's eyes were deep and quiet, and her voice was lowered, Grandma, the person who killed me, is probably Jiao Jingjia. I will not let her go, I will let her suffer as much as she wants, tasted the pain of being cornered, and ended up in prison, regretting for the rest of my life. Jiao Jingjia deprived her of the right to live in this world as Suzi, and she could not forgive her. After the Ming coins were burned, the flame gradually dimmed and went out. Mu Zi raised her head, breathed a sigh of relief, smiled and said to Zhang Si who was beside her, paper money is indeed a good thing. If it is burned, the dead may not be able to enjoy it, but the living can feel comfortable. Zhang Si sighed softly and patted Mu Zi's shoulder without saying anything. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 350. Descending from the mountain, the two went to a crematorium outside Xiashui town. Suzi's body was cremated in this crematorium. There was a register and a receipt stub, but there was no client's name and phone number. Logically, this did not comply with the rules and regulations. You are the person in charge, why don't you know? Zhang Si got a little angry and asked the staff of the crematorium, you don't even know the name of the person who came to burn the corpse, so you dare to burn it? Are you afraid that criminals will come to destroy the corpse, extinct? The staff shouted injustice, comrade policeman, how dare we? Before cremating the body, we will check the death certificate. This is Suzi I don't know why there is no name and phone number of the client. Besides, this is all in the past. It's been half a year, how can you still remember? Do you have surveillance here? Zhang Ci asked again. The staff looked even more distressed. Comrade police, we only have 1 month surveillance here, and what you want to check is the cremation records in August, which are long gone. Zhang Ci became even more irritable, and said, well, help me call all the people who work here, and I want to ask to see who still has an impression of what happened that day. Mu Ziyi listened beside her, feeling hopeless. If the other party really wants to hide it, even if the investigation continues, they will only get fake names and identities, and they still get nothing. While waiting for the staff to call, Mu Ziyi received a call. When the person on the phone said something, Mu Ziyi's expression immediately became astonished, as if he was stunned when he heard some amazing news, unable to recover for a long time. What's wrong? Zhang Ci asked with concern, seeing her sluggish. I found it. Mu Ziyi was stunned. Zhang Ci was puzzled. What did you find? Mu Ziyi said, the person who helped me collect the corpse. Zhang Ci was stunned. Zhang Ci knew that this matter was a knot in Mu Ziyi's heart. Who saved her? Why did she save her, and why didn't she show up after saving her? They tried various methods to investigate, and even used goose power, but the matter was still confusing. But after they arrived in Xiaoshui town, there was a sudden progress. Just, that's it, found it? Mu Ziyi stared blankly at Zhang Ci. Boss Tong said that he found out that the boat of the Huo family's 9 young masters had stayed at Jiang'an port. It is said that he came to see the feng shui of the rivers and mountains in Xinjiang city, and specially invited a mage. Zhang Ci was surprised and said, the person who saved you was Huoju. He saved you, why didn't he come to you? The 3rd and 4th young masters of the Huo family have always wanted to kill him, and he left Xinjiang after that. Mu Ziyi's eyes were empty, looking at the ground blankly. Later he hid in Tibet. Last month, in Wuzhing she died in a car accident. Zhang Ci was even more shocked. You mean, he died? They searched and searched for so long, and it turned out that the other party was already dead. On the return train, Mu Ziyi leaned against the window, watching the speeding and backward scenery with a blank expression. Sitting next to her, Zhang Ci explained, the world is impermanent, and it's useless to think too much. Don't take it to heart. When you have a chance in the future, burn some paper for him and do a ritual ceremony. It can be regarded as repaying him. Zhang Ci felt that Mu Ziyi might not be able to accept it for a while. The person he was looking for had to encounter unexpected disasters, and yin and yang were separated. Ask people. Why did you save me? Do you love me? No one could answer Mu Ziyi's questions anymore. All truths are buried underground with death. Forget it, Zhang Ci said to her, don't think about it. If you are really bored, why don't you help me investigate the case and change your mood? Mu Ziyi looked at the scenery outside the window, and smiled faintly. Is there any case that can stump Officer Zhang? Zhang Ci frowned slightly. It's not difficult, it's evil. All the witnesses said that ghosts killed people.